With the upcoming release of The Nun II, I thought I'd watch The Nun I, solely because The Nun I is fun to say out loud. Is The Nun I a particularly awful film? Not really. Is it completely devoid of anything interesting, engaging, or scary, to the point of being somewhat baffling in its own right? Yes! It is also that too. First off, if you haven't seen The Nun I, henceforth simply referred to as The Nun, it's a spin-off from The Conjuring 2, a movie I've seen but don't remember a single thing about, but apparently there's a creepy nun in it that Warner Brothers' algorithm picked up that people evidently found spooky enough to justify a prequel revolving around said nun. The plot revolves around a Catholic priest who is part of a super secret sect that investigates paranormal phenomena, and a soon-to-be nun who go investigate the apparent suicide of a nun at a Romanian nunnery. They inexplicably meet up with a French-Canadian guy named Frenchie, who's there to give the movie another character, and vaguely imply some romantic interest, despite her about to be, you know, a nun. There, they discover that the convent has been taken over by a demon who has taken the form of a spooky nun, and they work together to stop it from escaping and destroying the world or something. Got it? Good. First off, let's ask the most important question when talking about a horror film. Is the movie scary? Short answer, no. Long answer, fuck no. I don't know how many times various film critics can say that jump scares are cheap and lazy, but holy shit. I honestly don't know if I've ever seen a horror film so utterly devoid of anything that makes horror films interesting than this one. It has less atmosphere than the surface of the moon. It has less atmosphere than an accounting convention. It has less atmosphere than an LA Rams home game. It has less atmosphere than a meetup of the We Hate Atmosphere Society. It has less atmosphere than that horror film from a few years ago, The Nun. Oh wait, that's this film. But seriously, the best they could do is set their smoke machine on high and hope that nobody will notice how frustratingly uninteresting their film is. It's like they were intentionally attempting to portray a profound inability to grasp the fundamental essence of the genre it listlessly attempts to inhabit. Instead of any real attempt at atmosphere, we just get jump scares. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I think a good jump scare can work. It's true. Usually, the way most filmmakers use them, jump scares are cheap, and you're not really getting scared, you're getting startled.
The scares in these movies are the definition of a jump scare. They are dead silence, dead silence, dead silence, loud noise, or a sudden burst of action. And that is not scary on any sort of psychological level. What it is startling. It's a loud noise. You're jumping because of a loud noise after being lulled into boredom from the rest of the movie.
But in the right context, a well-crafted jump scare can serve as a crescendo in a symphony of suspense, offering a jolt of fear that punctuates a carefully constructed atmosphere of dread. A jump scare should subvert your expectations. It should be placed and structured to where you don't expect it, and if possible, you should be at least somewhat emotionally engaged when it happens. The Nun doesn't manage to do any of that. And it doesn't even seem like it tries for the most part. That said, they actually accidentally did get one good jump scare. I guess when your film is nothing but jump scares, you're bound to do one right eventually, and it operates in the way I just described. There's a proper buildup of tension, you vaguely care about this character's well-being, or you at least think you're supposed to, and right when you genuinely think that they're safe, they pull the rug out. Solid. But my issue with this particular film's jump scares is how utterly predictable most of them are. It's the same shit over and over. There's a vague buildup, an increase in tension, then a slow decrease in tension, and the moment you're supposed to think everything's okay, blammo, jump scare. It's like, fine, if you want your movie to be a roller coaster ride of jump scares, I don't love that type of thing, but if you're gonna do it, at least try a tiny bit more than not at all to make them unpredictable. So with that in mind, who is this movie for? I guess if you've never seen a halfway decent horror movie in your entire life, this movie might be a little scary, if only because you're seeing some mildly disturbing imagery, and again are being repeatedly startled. Okay, sorry if that was too harsh. If you like this movie, if you found it scary, power to you. For me, all I could ask while watching this movie was, why can't every horror movie be like another horror film that released the same year as The Nun? Hereditary. Hereditary is like the negative of this movie. An absolutely perfect exercise in horror that I know isn't an opinion shared by everyone, including roughly a third of the movie theater I saw it in, who laughed throughout the entire film, despite it being the most incredible work of horror made in the last, I don't know, forever years, where the nun makes no genuine attempt at atmosphere, has no interesting narrative, absolutely zero thematic substance, and perhaps most of all, no ability to scare me in the slightest. Hereditary is a masterwork of the genre, weaving a near flawless tapestry of psychological terror that truly delves deep into the darkest recesses of the human experience. Instead of having a spooky nun jump out at you, it presents a suffocating sense of dread that permeates every frame. Instead of having a spooky nun jump out at you again, the horror is multidimensional, encompassing complex themes of grief and familial trauma. Every element of the film works in harmony to create an atmosphere that is almost oppressively unsettling. Then you have The Nun, which instead has a spooky nun that jumps out at you when you most expect it. It's insane to me that there are just no themes in the movie. Not like the score, I mean thematic elements. Right after we watched The Nun, we watched The Conjuring 3, which also wasn't particularly good, but it at least tried to half-ass shove in a theme about the power of love or some shit.
Because she thinks our love is our weakness, but it's not. It's our strength.
There's nothing like that in The Nun. We're not even in the same planet here.
One thing I love about the Conjuring universe is these elevated horror stories told with grounded connections. The humans, the feeling of a real human and watching these characters and responding to what they go through.
Lady, you just described every movie, literally except this one. For but a brief moment in the beginning, when the initiate nun character is talking about how dinosaurs were real, even though the other nuns said that they weren't or whatever.
The Bible is God's love letter to us, but it doesn't mean that he doesn't want us to ask questions about the wonders of his creation.
I thought, oh, okay, she's kinda not your average nun. She's a bit of a free thinker. So that'll come up again with her character or thematically somehow. Oh, poor naive little old me. Not only does it not come up, the only vague character arc or motivation she has is actually just eventually becoming a normal-ass nun in the midst of their attempt to save the world. So what about the nun itself? Is it a good, scary movie villain?
From a Catholic standpoint, the idea of something that you hold really sacred could be perverted like that is what gives it the strength that it has.
Does its presence justify this film holding the highest box office total of any of the other 8 or so Conjuring films? I mean, if I saw this thing in the room with me, I'd definitely be scared, sure. But like everything else with this movie, it's entirely superficial. I just revisited 2001: A Space Odyssey, and in all truth, these monoliths are infinitely scarier to me than the nun, and the monolith is a black slab of nothing. But in context, with what it does to those who interact with it, the imagery, the music, its implications, it's haunting. It's unsettling. It's creepy. Fear stems from the unknown and the unpredictable, challenging our understanding and control of our surroundings. Maybe if the nun had a discernible logic to its actions, or a motivation beyond its evil, I guess, I'd be a little more afraid of it. That's another major issue I had with the film. I had no idea what this nun or whatever could actually do. Sometimes our heroes just kind of vaguely shove it away while it's attempting to ruthlessly murder them, and they just get away. How do they keep getting away? This thing can seemingly teleport all it wants. It can move faster than the speed of light. It can basically do anything it wants, except kill our heroes? Why can't it kill our heroes? What's stopping you, nun? Devour their faces while they're sleeping. I'm rooting for you!
I'm going to genuinely punch a nun today.
Oh, a normal human weapon can kill its minions? Wow, what a powerful, unspeakable evil from the deepest regions of hell. Like, the nun here has Father whoever the fuck dead to rights here, but because the almost nun girl manages to locate him just in time, the nun just gives up? I guess? Oh, and the nun just buries him where all of these secret books with clues to defeat her are located.
Maybe those books will help shine a light on our answer.
And not literally anywhere else in the graveyard? Well, okay. On that note, and I don't even know why I'm giving this movie more of my genuinely rare and precious free time, it's just a very weak script. Not abysmal like if Tommy Wiseau wrote it, but it's so full of strange inconsistencies and lapses in logic that you'd think, I don't know, Tommy Wiseau wrote it. Like, what is the screenwriter even talking about here, man?
Nuns, they have this sort of shroud of mystery to them already. To me, they seem to be the ones with the answers, and I find that to be really compelling.
What? What are you saying, bro? I don't want to turn this into an episode of Cinema Sins, But boy, I could not wrap my head around the countless lapses in logic with this movie. Like, after their first night there, they discover irrefutable evidence of real bloodthirsty demons, but instead of fucking off and returning with, I don't know, a fully armed squadron of high-level priests, or fuck it, the Pope himself, they choose to stick around. They just came here to investigate, not save the world.
I thought we were here because of a suicide.
We are. That is only part of our investigation. I also have orders from the Vatican to determine if the grounds are still holy.
By this point, they had no clue what any of this was. I guess Frenchie took off with the horse, but I'd commit to a day hike if it meant avoiding the building that has literal demons in it. That's what cops do, right? They get to a scene, and before they do anything, they assess the situation and call reinforcements. They don't even mention how or why this nunnery doesn't have any outside communication. I get it, it's the early 50s, maybe phones haven't reached there yet.
You took a plane from Rome, a bus from Bucharest. Now, my friends, you're in the dark ages.
But it's a fairly big building that's supposedly chock full of nuns. They don't even have a radio? Oh wait, they do? But not like a two-way radio, I guess? So if a nun needs an emergency evac, they're just fucked until Frenchie here brings their quarterly supplies? Moving on. It's pretty rare that I notice weak performances and direction in major movies like this, but I noticed a few points where our lead actress didn't really seem to be showing the right emotion at a given moment. Maybe it was due to the director's somewhat limited experience.
I'm sort of doing exactly the same movie that I was doing when I was 12 years old.
Maybe she's just not the greatest actress, and she was only hired to be in this movie because she's Vera Farmiga's daughter, who knows? Oops. I mean sister. These two are 21 years apart. I did notice that she looked very similar to Vera, but I just thought it was a coincidence, but nope.
Thaisa, you're actually joining the franchise that your sister Vera helms, which is really cool.
Nepotism? Maybe. Who could say for certain? Hey look! It's James Wan's wife in a prominent role.
Which is really cool.
I also noticed that a lot of the dialogue felt very stilted and unnatural. Like, I hate moments like this.
So you know Bishop Form?
How do you?
Because he helped me when I was younger.
It's subtle, but I just see the words written down in the screenplay, and it's not quite how people talk to one another. Anyway, is it all bad? No. I thought it was creepy early on that the body that Frenchie put in the freezer was sitting up, even though he put it in there laying down.
That's not how I left her.
What do you mean?
She was laying down when I left her here.
Although now that I say that, I don't know why the nun or whatever would do that. It's weird at first because it adds a little bit of tension and fear of the unknown, but after the film's 90 minutes have run their course, the film doesn't provide even a tiny nugget of reason as to why the body would be moved in such a way. Wait, this part is me trying to be positive, right? I thought it was cute that Frenchie spits here. It's set up earlier that the local villagers spit to ward off evil, or whatever.
There's no record of it in the village. And the locals only spit when it's mentioned.
Spit?
Yeah. Ward of evil. It's an old and silly superstition.
So when some sus stuff goes down, Frenchie spits. It's like the one tiny little vaguely clever thing that the movie does, and it boils down to a guy spitting for 1 second. I guess the movie didn't make me want to actively jump out of a moving car, so it's got that going for it. I mean, it's competently paced, it's competently structured, I guess. Again, it's clearly not a student film or something, but in the places it needs to succeed, it just doesn't. Anyway, let's move on to, oh fuck, I'm running out of tape on my tape recorder. I gotta end this review now. Let me know what y'all think of The Nun in the comments, and I'll see y'all for The Nun 2. Bye!